my name is Lorna Baker, and today we're going to be learning how to make a felt succulent. So the things you're going to need are hot glue, scissors, a ruler, and a pencil. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark along the side of the ruler. I'm just using the ruler's width, which is about 1 inch. If you wanted to be more precise, you could do 1 inch by inch square. And then the second line, I'm going to flip my ruler twice. And then I'm going to cut out these pieces. So I should have a strip that is 2 inches long by 1 inch wide and a strip that is 1 inch by 1 inch square. It doesn't need to be precise. You don't even really need to measure. You could just eyeball this part. And you'll see why. So I'm just going to use the width of my ruler again. You could measure it and make them 1 inch by 2 inches. But for this, because I'm going to be cutting petal shapes out of this, I don't think it's necessary to measure. I do want them pretty close in size, but it is a natural look, so I'm not going to be cutting them exactly. You could make every single petal exactly the same shape and size by making a pattern and tracing around that as well. So I'm just going to cut these strips out. I folded it in half so that I could cut them more quickly. You can do one at a time. It'll make it more precise. And I'm going to do the same thing for my small strip, so my 1 by 1. And I'm going to go ahead and cut those out as well. And you can cut more strips than this if you want a fuller looking succulent. You could do another size up, so maybe a 3 inch by 1 inch instead of a 2 inch by 1 inch for larger petals on the outside. So I'm just going to cut an almond shape out of here, and I'm just angling my scissors on the side so that they curve up to a point. So I'm starting at the bottom and the top, bottom, top. And I'm just kind of moving my scissors in a rounded motion as I'm cutting, so I'm not cutting a diamond shape. I'm rounding out that edge. And you can see I am not being precise at all, and it's not going to impact the finished look at all. I find that when I'm making plants and flowers, if all of my pieces are all the same, I don't like it as much. I know some people prefer that look to be very perfect, and that's fine. So if you want to do that, you're welcome to. I mean, this is only going to look as natural as a fabric flower can look. So that's something to take into consideration. I typically use different shades of green for this project. Like, they have olive greens, they have some darker greens. This is a very light green, a very lime green. But that's what I have to work with. So at the end, I will show you how to tone down the brightness of your felt using a felt tip marker. It's an optional step. Okay, so now I'm going to take my hot glue, and I'm just gluing along one side of my petals. And I'm overlapping about halfway. So each petal is going about halfway into the next. I'm using a high temp hot glue gun, but you're welcome to use a low temp hot glue gun. I just don't own a low temp hot glue gun. With the high temp hot glue gun, just make sure that you're waiting a few seconds before you push down. Because it is felt, it's porous, and the glue may seep in between, and you might burn your fingers. And with a high temp hot glue gun, it's a very strong possibility you'll get a pretty bad burn. Okay, so now I have all my little ones done. You can see what that looks like. So you want to start from the end that you started from, and so that's the back end. And you'll be able to tell because it'll roll in on itself. So you can kind of roll it in half. There you go. And I'm just going to roll it around in a circle, and you'll see the petals start to take shape. It's okay if this comes apart because you can always re-roll it. At the very end, I'm just going to add a dab of glue, and carefully, because this is a high temp hot glue gun, I'm going to push it down. I'm going to hold it there for a few seconds. If you're using a low temp, it should bond pretty quickly. Hot glue is really good for bonding felt and fabric together because it is porous and the fibers will bond with the hot glue because the glue seeps into the fabric. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing with the large petals. I'm going to apply them one at a time, making a V shape with my glue, and I'm just putting them in between where my petals are overlapping. So if you look at yours, I'm going to do a set of 3. But you could do 4 in this row, as many as you want. You could cut more petals as well. So I'm just going to do 3, and then I'm going to put those around, and I'm going to put the next ones in between those ones. So you see there I have 1, 2, 3. They're pretty evenly spaced, and then I'm going to put, one in between. Putting my V of glue. When I'm choosing which side, because mine are irregular, my pieces are irregular, I'm going to pick the side that's flatter and put that towards the bottom. You could cut a succulent shape where it is flatter at the bottom because that is a more natural look as well. So you'll see here this one's really flat at the bottom. I'm going to put that end there and put the pointy end up. I always want to put my pointy end towards the top. And if there is no pointy end, you can still go back and cut that. So I have 3 more. I'm kind of looking at it and seeing which ones are shorter, where I think I might need more. I think I need some on the right side because it looks a little bit shorter, so I'm going to put some there. And just in between. If you put them not in between the leaves, you won't be able to see it that well. So staggering them is the best way to make sure you see your hard work. And there you have it. This is a complete succulent flower. And I just have one more petal to put on, so I'm going to go ahead and figure out where I'm going to put that, do that. And I will show you how to add color. If you don't want to add any extra color, you don't have to do this step. Okay, so I'm just fluffing out my petals so you can get a better look of where it's at. See all the pretty layers. And I'm just going to take my marker and define these layers just a little bit more. You can use a contrasting color like red and go around. A lot of succulents have red. In this blue one, I just did a darker color, and I think that's what I'm going to do for this green one. I'm just going to add a darker color. You could use things like Sharpies, you could use chalk pastels, you could use oil pastels. Oil pastels is a little bit more difficult because they tend to drag on the felt. You could also needle felt on these leaves. I recommend needle felting before you glue everything together. I like to do this step last because when I'm gluing it together, sometimes there's a little bit of transfer with these alcohol-based markers. So I like to do this part after I've already assembled it. So I'm just going over the tips with the marker. I'm blending down so that there's no harsh lines. And I'm just going to lift the petals up in between just to make sure that I can get under there. You don't want to leave it so that if it moves, your shadow is not underneath the petal. And I think that toned down that lime green quite a bit, just adding that darker color. I went darker in the center there too, so you have some more depth. I have a little pot here, show you what it looks like. This is a fridge pot. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you make your own succulent. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos.